Nanta team. Weren't they amazing? Woo. I'm told that Korean drumming evokes the sound of mothers calling to the lives and souls in the earth, and we certainly thank our ancestors for watching over us tonight. Good evening. I'm Amber Reed. I'm the president of AAPI Montclair. Welcome to our second annual Lantern Festival for Justice and Remembrance. It's at times like this, when we're reeling from attacks in Uvalde, Buffalo, Dallas, Southern California, and elsewhere, that we truly understand how powerful it is to be able to come together as a community. The lantern appears throughout Asian cultures. It can be a symbol of peace and reconciliation, of the triumph of good over evil, and as a light that guides the souls of our departed loved ones home. Tonight we're embracing all of these meanings as we consecrate this beautiful setting to those we've lost to racialized violence and injustice, and light a path through this darkness by showing how much we can change when we come together. And we want to thank all the volunteers, community partners, and donors who came together to make tonight happen. Thank you. We are blessed to be joined by diverse faith leaders tonight who can guide us through reflecting on love and healing in the face of hate. Please welcome Pastor Robert Coles of the African American Clergy Association, Imam Hamza Abdeen of the Islamic Center of Verona, and Rabbi Mark Katz of Temple Ner Tamid. They will come up to the mic in turn.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you. I am Imam Hamza Abdeen from the Islamic Center of Verona, and I came here today to share some prayers with you. Does it always have to be hatred that brings us together? Does it always have to be injustice that brings us together? Today, our country is heartbroken. Today, our country is soul searching. We cannot find the same peace that we used to find before. We cannot find the same security and safety that we all used to experience before. And if there is anyone to take us out of this situation, it is God. We all have to turn to Him and to pray to Him. So in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, may His peace and blessings be upon His prophets and messengers and those who follow their blessed path. O God, we are always in need for your guidance and protection. We ask you to look upon us today. We were not created to dominate or oppress one another. We were not created for war. We were not created to judge who should live and who should die. We stand here today in humility and in determination to pursue the peace, the justice, and the equality you demand of us, ready to stand up against all the evil that threatens to destroy the goodness in your creation, ready to stand up against any oppression in any name for any cause from any position, against any of your creation. We ask that the voices of racism that seek to divide us are drowned out by the chorus of voices that say you will not pit us against one another. We choose to live together by the hope that God has instilled in us, not the fear that others have manufactured amongst us. We pray to you, God, the one God of Noah, the one God of Abraham, the God of Moses, the God of Jesus, the God of Muhammad, and the God of us all. Amen.
I'm Rabbi Mark Katz from Temple Ner Tamid in Bloomfield, New Jersey. In Hebrew, there is a word that doesn't have a perfect translation in English. That word is arevut, which some people translate as being responsible for one another, but it doesn't actually mean that. The essence of community is in this word arevut, which actually means to be mixed up in, to be guarantors for, to look out for, to have our fates mixed together. And the truth is that in order to consider yourself part of a community with anybody, it means that their problems become your problems. It means that their dreams become your dreams. It means their hopes become your hopes. And it means that the hatred against them is like a hatred against you. And the goal of any community is to foster across lines this sense of real connection, to understand, using the words of Martin Luther King Jr., that we are wrapped up in a garment of destiny, and that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Well, I stand here in Arevut with the AAPI community, but with every other community that is facing hatred too. With the Muslim community, with the African American community, with the Jewish community, and with all those others who fear what future holds for them in a world of rising violence and hatred. And the only way, at least says the Jewish tradition, but I know it's true for most of us, that we can find our way out of this darkness is by holding hands and walking together. It's by understanding that we are indeed arevut. We are indeed wrapped up in that garment of destiny. And in doing so, we can pull each other out of the darkness. We are stronger together than we could ever be apart. And so united, we walk forward into the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those powerful reflections. Clearly, fighting bias and hate has to start at home. It starts with us. Representing municipal efforts, please welcome Krista Rappaport, Chair of Montclair's Civil Rights Commission, and Mayor Sean Spiller.
Welcome, everyone. Certainly, it's great to see everyone here. I am Sean Spiller, proudly serving as the mayor in our community, and I am just so thrilled to be here. First and foremost, I think because what this represents and who we are as a community. I think we know, certainly during these times, the world we live in is a place of uncertainty in so many ways. As much progress as we've made, as much as what we stand for here in Montclair, a township that is so diverse, rich in its diversity, which we celebrate, but also in our activism, to know that until, as was noted, injustice everywhere is stamped out, we still have work to do. I spent the last week, I'm sure like so many of you, at various gun rallies and speaking on that issue. Today, down at a pride parade with my son and all over the state, and certainly seeing different communities doing what they can, but knowing what we do here in Montclair, the importance of what we do. I think moments like this are what we're all about. Coming together, yes, to celebrate, to enjoy each other's company, but to know that there is so much that we remain committed to. Incidences of hate, unfortunately, have risen so much over the last number of years. In part, yes, and we can never get away from it, from the politics of things. But also, we know that we have a role to play as well in talking to our neighbors and our friends, educating them as to why it is important to celebrate our rich diversity, as opposed to be threatened by it or afraid. That obligation is ours, because as a high school teacher myself, I know the education we give our children, what they learn from us, is what they take with them for a lifetime. So I certainly want to say to all of you as I come here and I have a proclamation on behalf of my fellow council members. Councilman Bob Russo's here today. I see some former council people in the audience as well. But we have a proclamation certainly celebrating last month, and we know this was rescheduled, as AAPI month, and certainly the activities that are put forward. We wanted to celebrate and recognize the organizations such as AAPI Montclair, hosting events like the Lunar New Year, this festival, and other events to help educate our youth. We wanted to note how important that is and how committed we are as a township to making sure that we work hard so that our Asian American Pacific Islander residents, who are no stranger to discrimination, hate, and violence, know that they are not alone. We are all in this together. We are in this together as a community, and we will be successful because of our commitment to one another. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you for being here. Kristen?
Thank you, Mayor, Your Honor. Good evening. My name is Krista Rappaport, and I am one of your Civil Rights Commissioners, or the CRC. I'm also chair of the CRC. I also have Korean relatives who are concerned about their safety. We saw recently what happened in Buffalo, New York. Tonight, in this beautiful park, we seek hope in an environment poisoned by hatred by extremists. We see the increased and disturbing violence happening to our AAPI brothers and sisters throughout the country. Violence, abuse, microaggressions fueled by the Great Replacement theory. They seek to create political and social change. They seek a return back to the time of segregation and institutional barriers aimed at promoting a standard of living for whites superior to that lived by people of color. So, when AAPI and other non-whites achieve success, we see misplaced anger and jealousy. We must address these threats with vigilance and intention. Your CRC is charged with collaborating with citizens of Montclair, our councilors and mayor, Dr. Renee Baskerville, who's out in the audience, churches, synagogues, the Montclair Police Department, the NAACP, CPAC, the Board of Education, civic and social organizations, and others to fight discrimination. We are committed to standing with the AAPI to combat hate. At the CRC's table, there is a QR code to provide you with contact and other information. The CRC is an organization fueled by your concerns. We don't act on our own agenda. It's what you citizens bring us. Thank you, friends. Thank you, AAPI. Good night.
Thank you so much, Mayor Spiller, Ms. Rappaport. Thank you, Councilman Bob Russo, for standing with us as well. It's now my honor to introduce New Jersey Acting Attorney General Matthew Platkin. Prior to being nominated as New Jersey's 62nd Attorney General, he served as Chief Counsel to Governor Murphy, spearheading a number of initiatives, including gun safety and voting rights. As Acting Attorney General, he has broad oversight of the state's legal and law enforcement matters and has moved quickly to use the powers of his office to address discrimination, bias, and hate against AAPI and other marginalized communities. Please welcome New Jersey Acting Attorney General Matthew Platkin.
Thank you, Amber, for that introduction, and more importantly, thank you to Amber and all the organizers of AAPI Montclair for the incredible work that they're doing to not only build events like this, but to build awareness for the AAPI community throughout this great community of Montclair, as well as throughout the broader New Jersey community. So can we give Amber and her team a round of applause? It's great to be here tonight. It's great to be here tonight on such a beautiful night. Obviously, Amber called in the weather for the second time, and it worked. But I wish I was here at a time that reflected the weather. We're going through a tough time right now in this country, and New Jersey is no exception. Obviously, are all still grieving from the losses in Uvalde and Buffalo. And for too many people across our state and across our country, they're living in fear. They're living in fear because of who they are or how they look or where they're from or who they love. And the AAPI community is no exception. Last year, we collect in the Department of Law and Public Safety, we collect data on all the bias incidents that get reported. Last year, anti-AAPI bias incidents went up by 87% in the state of New Jersey. 87%. And when we put that data out, I was asked, why did we see that increase? We know why we're seeing that increase. When you talk about the rhetoric, when you listen to the rhetoric that's being used by far too many people in positions of authority in this country, when they blame entire communities for the coronavirus pandemic, when they say the Asian American community is responsible for the pandemic, and then when that rhetoric spreads on social media platforms who have not lived up to their obligation under their own terms of service, people are acting on that rhetoric. And they're acting on that rhetoric in ways that make New Jerseyans and Americans and people of all communities less safe. And that's particularly true for the AAPI community. My wife is a proud Chinese American woman, and she told me recently that she wouldn't take, we live down the street, we live in Montclair, this is our community. She wouldn't take the train to New York City. Not because it wasn't on time, because she didn't feel safe. And so I stand here as the chief law enforcement officer of the state, and I want you to know that these issues to me and to our administration are personal. I have no tolerance for any act of hate. And so the one piece of good news I have is that some of the increase in incidents is due to the fact that we have really strengthened our reporting and investigative systems. So you can report an incident through our website, you can report an incident on the phone, you can report through your local police, and within 24 hours, we're farming that out and we're investigating it. And I will tell you, if there are charges that are appropriate, we're bringing them. And if we can't bring it on the criminal side, we'll pursue civil recourse, because we have to go after hate where it starts. But it's broader than that. It's broader than that. And I want to commend the governor, who has brought a whole of government approach to combating hate and bias in our state. And it involves multifaceted approach. It obviously involves the enforcement side, which I have the privilege of leading. There's a huge educational component, and I am so proud that he's signed a law that now mandates Asian American education in all of our schools throughout the state. And despite what people say, these educational standards are a good thing. These educational standards will strengthen our communities, and they will bring us together. And so I'm proud to work in an administration that is tackling this head on, but we can't do it without you all. We need to know what is happening on the ground before it becomes a big problem. If there's things you're seeing on social media, please tell us. Please tell us. We can use the tools we have at our disposal to help you and to keep folks safe. And obviously, in this time of concern, of rising bias and rising hate, I know how much fear there is in our communities. I want you to know that we stand with you and that we're here to help you, and we're here to do everything we can to keep you safe. Thank you all for being here. Enjoy this beautiful night, and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you so much, General. It's clear that it truly does matter who is in rules like yours. And I'd like to share with everyone here that if you go to aapimontclair.org, you will find resources and links for reporting a bias incident or hate crime to the Attorney General's office. And now, I am so excited to introduce the extraordinary Amaris Jones, who will sing a song with a very special meaning for us tonight. Please welcome Amaris.
How is everyone? Good. I'm just going to move this out our way. Okay. Anyone know this? All right, good. Don't be afraid to sing along with me. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Won't you stand? Will you stand? Stand by me. When the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble by the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear. Just as long as you stand by me. So won't you stand by me? Oh, stand by me. Won't you stand? Won't you stand by me? There's a place for me if you stand, just stand by me.
Isn't she breathtaking? Amaris Jones. Thank you. We called her 2 days ago to ask her to sing, and it's her first time singing since the beginning of the pandemic. So watch out, world, because Amaris is coming. We are honored to be joined tonight by Congressman Donald Payne Jr., a Newark, New Jersey native. He has served the people of the 10th Congressional District of New Jersey since 2012. Representative Payne is a tireless fighter for New Jersey families, working to create jobs and grow the economy, protect and invest in our children, and ensure the health and safety of our communities. Please welcome our Congressman, Donald Payne.
I'm here to be with you today for this beautiful tribute to all of those who have been harmed or lost their lives to anti-Asian violence and hate. This is an important moment to reflect on our beloved family members, friends, and community members who have fallen victims to the evils of white supremacy and to honor their memories. I am grateful to be joining Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, Mayor Spiller, and Assemblywoman Park to stand in solidarity with the AAPI community. The growing violence against members of the AAPI community across this country is devastating and cannot go unaddressed. We must do everything we can in our power to combat the hatred and the racism that infects our politics and culture, because it is quite literally killing us. My father, the late Congressman Donald Payne Sr., was the first black representative to ever be elected in New Jersey to that position. He was a fierce advocate for civil rights, marching alongside Dr. Martin Luther King, and spent his entire career dedicated to the fight for racial justice. Watching him do this work was the foundation to my understanding of what it means to be a public servant, and a good public servant. My father taught me that racial justice is not only a moral imperative, but it is integral to the survival of our democracy. I carry those lessons with me to this very day, and I am guided by his legacy in my own work as Congressman now. The project of combating racism must be pursued at many different levels of our culture, media, and politics, and I am committed to doing everything in my power to advance justice in my role in Washington. I am proud to support legislation such as the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, which establishes a new criminal civil rights violation for lynching, and was a co-sponsor of the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, which has been signed into law, that addresses the rising hate against the AAPI community during the pandemic. I will continue to fight for substantive legislation to address hate, crimes, gun violence, and bigotry. In just the past month, we have seen the devastating impacts of racist rhetoric in our politics and the media that has directly resulted in the murder of AAPI and black people alike. The racist, sexist Atlanta spa shootings last year that killed 6 AAPI women, and the racist mass shooting in Buffalo just last month, and the murder of 19 babies, little children, in Uvalde, Texas, did not happen in isolation. It is time that we confront the impact that the rise in this kind of violence and hateful bigotry and ideology is having in our communities. In the face of the Republican Party's efforts to ban the books that our children can read and limit teachers' ability to educate our children about the complex history of this country, from its triumphs to its flaws, we must be ever more dogged in our commitment to teaching the of tolerance and or the pursuit of a more just, equitable future for all Americans. We all deserve the right to love who we want, to explore our cultures, to live together in harmony. This beautiful exhibit here tonight shows that we can all come together and stamp out this dreaded disease in this country called racism. And so I'm just delighted to be here and support the efforts around the issues that we both have faced. As you know, the history of African Americans in this country is called the original sin, the sin of slavery. And so we are sensitive and understand how it is to have race and social justice and hate crimes be a part of the fight that we have to have in this country for equality. So I'll just end with a poem that my father taught to me a very long time ago when I was a young man and I faced some racism in school. I went to a largely majority population school, and I was only one of a few African Americans in Hillside at that time to go to these schools, and we were attacked on numerous occasions and bullied and chased by mobs every year, accosted on the streets of Hillside. And he taught me this poem, and it says, whether you have blonde, fleecy locks or black complexion, it does not forfeit nature's claim. Skin may differ, but affection wells in black, white, and Asian the same. And were I so tall as to reach the poles or span the oceans with my hands, I must be measured by my soul. The mind is the standard of a man. Thank you. God bless you. And let's keep fighting this ugly scourge of anti-Asian bigotry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congressman Payne. That was incredible. Thank you. Our next guest, Jean-Pierre Brutus, represents the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. The Institute's cutting-edge racial and social justice advocacy seeks to empower people of color by building reparative systems that create wealth, transform justice, and harness democratic power from the ground up. AAPI Montclair recently became the first Asian American organization to support the Institute's Say the Word campaign in support of a commission to study reparations for slavery in New Jersey. And we plan to donate proceeds above our costs tonight to both the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice and the Asian American Federation, which has been doing so much important on-the-ground work for the past 30 years. And with that, I do need to pause and ask you to look around tonight and understand that everything you see here, except the geese and this tree, cost us a lot of money to bring in. So if you're able, please go to aapimontclair.org to support this event and these two organizations who are doing the real work of social justice. And with that, please join me in welcoming Jean-Pierre Brutus, Senior Counsel in the Economic Justice Program at the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jean-Pierre Brutus, Senior Counsel at the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, located in Newark. The Institute's cutting-edge racial and social justice advocacy seeks to empower people of color by building reparative systems that create wealth, transform justice, and harness democratic power from the ground up in New Jersey. I want to thank AAPI Montclair for having me, particularly Amber Reed, Jeff Chang, and Daniel Iwata. I also want to thank my fellow speakers, Congressman Donald Payne Jr., Attorney General Matthew Platkin, Mayor Sean Spiller, Krista Rappaport, as well as all the other presenters and performers. Tonight, as we join to acknowledge those harmed and killed by hate, particularly those victims of anti-Asian hate, anti-Semitism, and racism, I want to acknowledge Uvalde, Texas, and in particular, the recent heinous events in Buffalo and Laguna Woods, California. Those terrorist acts, steeped in white supremacy and jingoism, intended to undermine the legitimacy of our multiracial democratic experiment. Those acts of violence are a direct and existential assault on our democracy. They are attempts to limit the we and we the people. In response to this, is it incumbent upon us to remember the victims by looking to build, expand, and strengthen we the people, not solely with thoughts and prayers, but by empowering those affected communities with policies and practices. We can begin to take concrete steps to expand our notion of we-ness by taking direct action right here in New Jersey. Recently, as part of the redistricting process, the Institute was part of a Fair Districts coalition that proposed a unity map that prioritized racial equity. These maps drew district boundaries in such a way as to accurately reflect and empower the growing AAPI population in certain districts. As part of our Democracy in a Day campaign, the Institute is encouraging the passage of same-day voter registration right here in New Jersey. Same-day voter registration will promote democracy by making it possible to register to vote and to cast a ballot in a single day. Same-day voter registration will strengthen access to the ballot and help increase voter turnout in New Jersey elections. Same-day voter registration will bridge the registration gap and protect people of color from being disproportionately disenfranchised on election day. Same-day voter registration is common sense legislation that has been safely implemented in 20 other states. Democracy is the prosaic name we give to a prophetic idea. Democracy demands more than us to ritually cast a ballot every election day. Democracy asks us to rethink what is possible as a community. This event is the kind of solidarity building that is the glue of a genuine deep democracy. The US is constantly looking to the horizon and the promise of tomorrow. Yet to live today in the democracy of tomorrow, we must first come to terms with the days of yesterday. We must look to the past to ask important but difficult questions of why these bubbles of evil consistently pop, exploding into our collective consciousness and disrupting our reverie of having left the evils of the past behind. Thus, one significant step we can take is to call for a reparations task force in New Jersey. The task force would study the institution of slavery in New Jersey and its aftermath. It would hold public hearings and would propose programs and policies to address the harms caused by slavery. The Institute is leading a racially diverse and multi-faith campaign called Say the Word, advocating for passage of this bill. AAPI Montclair was the first Asian American organization to join Say the Word, and have highlighted how reparations given to Japanese Americans can serve as an instructive example for reparations for slavery in New Jersey. I want to thank Montclair for being one of 11 locations to adopt a resolution in support of this important legislation. Please go to njisj.org/saytheword to find out more about the campaign. And if you would like to contact your legislator about this bill, please go to 400yearsnj.org. New Jersey has been called the slave state of the North. It was the last state in the North to abolish slavery. Slavery was mainstream in New Jersey. It is time to make reparations for slavery mainstream in New Jersey. Instead of being a follower, New Jersey can now be a leader by being the first state in the North to pass such a task force. In the midst of racial violence and perverse attempts to suppress discussion of racism in U.S. history, let's come together to have this much-needed conversation and expand the we in We the People. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jean-Pierre. To introduce our last speaker, I'd like to welcome onto the stage two dynamic student advocates, Leila and Sofia Baches.
Thank you, Miss Reed. It is such an honor to be speaking in front of you all tonight and being on stage with Sofia to introduce our next speaker, Torrel Patel. I am Leila Khan, and last year I was able to get Eid off as a school holiday. This was important to me because I wanted to feel included like all of my friends who had their holidays off. In addition, I wanted to include my non-Muslim friends and family on my holiday. This year, I had the opportunity to bring my little cousin Kyle to see all of my dad's family and celebrate Eid with us because he had the day off. Inclusivity is important not just for sharing holidays, but to also ensure there is representation of all colors, religions, and points of view. Sofia, you have the floor.
Thanks, Leila. Hi, I'm Sofia Baches, and I'm a junior at Montclair High School. Over the past year, I've had the great privilege to work and meet with many powerful students of color in Montclair and across the country. As I learned about this work through Montclair's National Equity Team, BELL's network, that centers around student-led work towards minimizing the harmful effects of our blind spots and maximizing the potential for non-oppressive partnerships, and through the privilege of volunteering with MFE's Orejitas and Peeps program that namely uplifts and allows me to connect with my own Latinx community, as well as working with Lena Mustafa, who's taught me about combating food insecurity and environmentalism through community farming. In an effort to find my place in this work, I founded and enjoy running the Audrey Project, a safe space at MHS for non-men of color. Through all these opportunities, I've realized that there's nothing more crucial than making the space for unheard voices to be amplified. We need representation in white-dominated spaces in order to not only enact change, but grow stronger together. Youth voices, people of color's voices, and queer voices are our future, which is why I'm so excited to be representing youth voices tonight with Leila Khan.
Thank you so much, Sofia. I am so excited to introduce Toro Patel, a proud second-generation Indian American who lives in Verona with her family. Over 2 decades of civic engagement, Toro has run campaigns, educate underserved and new communities on the critical issues that are relevant to them, promoted civic involvement, and mentored the next generation of civic leaders. Please welcome Torrel Patel.
Hello, everyone. Evening. Thank you, Leila and Sofia, for the kind introductions and for all the time and commitment that you're giving to the great work. Let's give AAPI Montclair a huge round of applause, please. Events and ongoing programming like tonight requires a lot of dedicated individuals giving a lot of time. So please, please support them in any way that you can. I'm humbled to be speaking tonight. I grew up right down the road in Bloomfield and am raising my family right up the road in Verona. I'm raising my multiracial, multilingual children, and net, I'm a proud Jersey girl. I'm also a proud Indian American, Hindu American, and South Asian American. 20 years ago, when I walked into the State House for my first big job, women looking like me were not in government appointee roles, and they certainly were not elected to office. 20 years ago, we had one assemblyman who carried the torch for all Asians in New Jersey. Assemblyman Shivakula was a trailblazer. This past election, New Jersey historically sent 3 AAPI women to the State House in Trenton. 3. They join Senator Gopal, Assemblyman Stanley, and Assemblyman Mukherjee. They also joined the ranks of several county commissioners in Burlington and Middlesex, mayors in Hoboken and Cherry Hill, presidents of Board of Education in South Brunswick and Livingston, and many more. We have dozens of municipal and county committee members across New Jersey. All of these elected AAPIs represent us and progress. We have Congressman Andy Kim, New Jersey's first Asian American congressional representative, who's up for re-election. But what many maybe don't know is that he was actually not the first Asian American elected to Congress. That recognition stays with Dalip Singh, who was elected in 1957. I share that because Asians have a long history in the United States. much of what I actually learned as an adult. And that's not okay. It's not okay that we have to consistently battle stereotypes, consistently battle microaggressions, and oftentimes be the only ones who look like us in a room. So continued progress in social justice requires active participation and legislative measures, like the AAPI curriculum bill that recently passed. I'm personally grateful for that one because my children now get to experience something that I didn't, and that's learn about their own history in school. So I was drawn to civic engagement because of the promise of being able to drive meaningful systemic change that really benefits all of us. So today I'm inviting everybody here to find the space to contribute to the work as an ally or other. Connect with your local leaders. Educate them about our culture and our issues. Stay connected with organizations like AAPI Montclair on legislative priorities and community happenings. Write a letter, vote. Tuesday is primary day. If you have not registered to vote, there's a table that is registering new voters. Please go to that coalition's table and get yourself registered. It's the easiest thing you could really do. It is primary day Tuesday. You can make calls. You can canvass for an elected official. Anyone who's really committed to lifting our community up deserves our time. So I'll leave you with this. We are here, we've been here, and we deserve to be seen, heard, and feel a sense of belonging always. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Torrel. It is so important to understand our history and to understand our power. For our final musical performance of this evening, I am thrilled to again welcome the wonderful musicians of Apex Ensemble and Apex President Andre Wecker. Please give them a big round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andre Wecker, the president and founder of Apex Ensemble, the Montclair Orchestra. Very, very happy and proud to be here. We, as an orchestra industry, have a close connection to the Asian community, and in particular with the program that the piece we're going to be presenting this evening. We were fortunate enough to have a student composer from the Manhattan School of Music, who is a Korean composer that recently wrote this piece called Dreams. And this is what she had to say because she was unable to be here this evening. From Sowa Lee, thank you for having me for this meaningful festival. And I'm very happy to participate in the AAPI community and show my music with my dearest friend performers. This piece is dedicated to the train incident victims, especially she who, having lived in my neighborhood, we met in the basement before doing laundry and had a small chat. She liked my hair claw clip, and said, "It is cute." She asked me where I bought it. The next time I saw her face was on the news. As an Asian and a woman myself, I couldn't express the devastating feeling and fear in my mind. It was not just another accident for an Asian woman. It could be me. I hope every one of us remembers her, and she will live in the corner of my heart forever. In memory of her, Michelle Go, please enjoy my dreams. Thank you so much. Our ensemble this evening is composed of Letien Chang, Yujin Choi, Sarah Kwan, and Kumbo Shu. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello. Thanks. Thank you so much to Apex Ensemble for again elevating our event with their extraordinary gifts. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of our powerful speakers and performers tonight, to our volunteers, to all of you for joining us. And I have to say to our Lantern Festival leads, Meredith Nara, Jeff Chang, Danielle Iwata, stand tall, wave your arms around so we can see you, and thank you because you have made this happen. AAPI Montclair has truly been the work of everyone's hands, not just our gorgeously diverse, fiercely committed Asian American community, but all of you, our friends, our family, our neighbors, our educators and leaders who have really opened your hearts to sharing in our joys and our sorrows. Last year at our info table, many of you signed a petition drafted by Dr. Kanya Longavin requesting that our leaders require that Asian American and Pacific Islander history be taught in New Jersey public schools, so that all children in New Jersey grow up understanding that we are part of this country's history, that this is our home. And this year, after a very twisting, uncertain journey, during which people told us we were pushing too hard, too fast, that it couldn't happen, it was signed into law. So please, don't tell us that real change isn't possible, or that these actions are only symbolic, or that we should be patient, because we've seen what we can do when we unite, just as we saw 40 years ago when a young Chinese American named Vincent Chin was beaten to death by men who blamed him for the decline of the American auto industry. When a judge let his killers off with probation and a small fine, saying they weren't the sort of people you send to jail, a coalition of faith leaders and Black activists joined the Asian American community for protests that led to the first civil rights trial for an Asian American. And yes, and during these troubling times, we all need to stand with the AAPI, Black and African American, LGBTQ, and other marginalized communities who are experiencing record numbers of bias incidents and hate crimes. So please, visit our info table, it's there for you again. Visit our community partner tables, talk to your neighbors, and learn more about real actions you can take to advance justice. And please visit aapimontclair.org to become a part of this movement by supporting this event tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us. Good night.